In your experience, where does it then typically fail? So they sit in a room and they go, right, this is our strategy. Da-da, go do it. Where does the rest of that process fail?
So depending on your organization, you need to think as an exec co, how do I make this relatable? How am I thinking about this with enough depth that this isn't just a loose vision? I understand what we need to do. We as a collective group need to do, but how do I make and translate this messaging across the organization so other people do? How do I manage that change? And above anything else, how do I get them to buy this idea? People freely buy their own idea. That's it. Like, there's never any resistance to your own idea. Who will buy it? It's the one that you sell the best to yourself. But with others, they need to feel as though they're part of that process, and they're human beings. So there is that psychological aspect that needs to be taken into consideration. So I find that there tends to be a fracture somewhere in that hierarchy chain. Somewhere someone has. I mean, we've all heard about sort of whispering games where we start with an original message, and by the end of the chain, we've come up with something totally random.
Yeah.
That can happen. That happens amongst human beings. So the trick is to make sure that messaging is consistent regularly throughout the process.
So I think I heard two things in there. One is having something that people can believe in. In other words, the meat and vegetable, if you like, of the strategy makes sense. And the second thing is the way in which you communicate that so that everybody can understand it. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's spot on. Clarity of message, and then execution of that messaging across an organization.
I've definitely been there myself, where you come out of a typically several month-long process and say, right, we've now got the strategy. And I'm going to be deliberately stupid here, but you then go out to your teams and you say, right, we're heading towards the enterprise market, for example. And then everyone in the company looks at you and says, but why? Like, corner shops are our market. That's where we exist. And that's what we should be. Are you stupid? Are you people stupid to go, right now, let's go to the enterprise market? And I know that we're going to talk a lot about communication in this, but what's the sort of simple way to get over that, where you get everybody on board with, this is a complete change of direction. It's a big strategy change. We now need to focus on a different market segment, for example.
Yeah, I think this is a great question. I think when you're part of that exec co and you're sitting in those meetings and you're getting all your data points, the people that are immediately surrounding you, your direct reports, for example, will have an idea of things that are happening. You're asking them for data requests. You're making sort of requests of their time. They're giving you lots of information. But there's layers upon layers within the organization that will not understand that that's happening. When you've been locked in a room talking about this stuff for 5 months, you'll understand it. You'll have gone on that journey. It will have taken you lots of time. You will be so used to it. But that is not the journey that everybody else in the organization has been in. So there'll be a sort of first stage of individuals that will have an awareness. And then when you go to present, this is a slide deck. This is what we're going to do. Let's ask questions. Let's have this. We've got an idea. You create those forums. Some great execos will go and do that really early in their strategy process and bring the entire org with them as much as they can. Others will not have the expertise within their org to do that, resources to do that. So they're kind of doing it this way. Those individuals will have some sort of awareness or buy-in. They're already prepared for it to happen. But then you're leaving that messaging usually from what I see, in their hands. So unless they fully understand what it is, you'll be, say, up on a podium talking about the big stuff, but they're the ones that have to turn this into tactical knowledge. These are the individuals that control the weather within your organization. These are the ones that will have to deal with the queries. So they need to be able to answer them. They need to be able to come back to it. So really, them understanding what they're carrying out is of the utmost importance. It's the implementation of that strategy. I think also just having integrity and trust and openness is key. So think about what people's objections might be early on. in the process? Where might people get afraid of change? There's great models out there that you can use, like Kotler's 8 stages. Where are they going to get change? That model, Kotler's 8 change model, talks about resistance to change. It talks about steps that an organization can take to minimize the resistance of change from the organizations, from the employees, if you like, and from other stakeholders outside as well. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't talk about clarity. People also resist confusion. And I think that's something that people always forget. And that's why I'm focusing on it, because I don't think I've not seen enough airtime on it.